UK, where the authorities are having to handle a large increase in anti-Muslim incidents since Lee Rigby was hacked to death in London 2 weeks ago. Mosques have been attacked, offensive comments made on social media websites, and far-right groups have staged various protests blaming Islam for the killing. Earlier this week, David Cameron issued a sharp rebuke to the English Defence League's response and that of other far-right groups. Speaking at the House of Commons, the Prime Minister said his government wouldn't stand for groups who try to demonise Islam and stoke up anti-Islam hatred. We sent our team in London to investigate just how much support there is for the English Defence League's response in the aftermath of the murder.
Floral tributes mark a community in mourning. It was here 2 weeks ago that Lee Rigby was murdered, and residents in Woolwich are still in shock. For these three friends, the tragedy unfolded as they collected their children from school.
Somebody's just turned on, they've just been stabbed and all that, and it was a soldier. And I was like this. I had to pick the kids up, put them in the car, got them onto their mum.
Well, that's why I went over there as soon as we see it. As soon as we see the bloke with the gun, I went over there and told them, and they locked it down.
Bad. I'm telling you, that is so bad. It's not very...
Today, Julia feels her community has been torn apart.
You get foreigners looking at you thinking you belong to the BNP or EDL, and you're looking at them thinking, are you going to be one of the terrorists?
One of the terrorists, that's right.
You know, you're just scared.
No, it is scared, it's frightening.
Just hours after the attack, the English Defence League took to the streets of Woolwich. Around 100 demonstrators gathered to denounce what they call the invasion of Islam. 5 days later, 1,000 stood before Downing Street. Throughout Britain, around 10 mosques were attacked. The call centre at the Tell Mama organisation, which tracks anti-Islamic attacks, was overwhelmed.
We usually have an average of roughly 4 incidents a day to process and deal with. And since in the 9 days after the Woolwich, we have been dealing with, on average, 19 a day.
But last Saturday, around 1,000 protesters gathered to oppose a march by the British National Party in London. By surrounding them at their starting point, the demonstrators stopped members of the extreme right from even beginning their march.
The BNP and the EDL have been shamelessly trying to exploit the Woolwich murderers to push their hate-ridden agenda. We're coming here to say that we're going to stand against it and we're not going to let the racists divide us.
We've prevented the fascists from marching to the cenotaph, so it's definitely a win for people promoting diversity and multiculturalism.
It was game over for the BNP. The 100 or so right-wing members returned home without having marched, a failure reminiscent of their disappointing performance in the elections of 2010. Although the English Defence League may have a strong online presence, it's less popular in the street.
What we find is that the overwhelming majority of people who've heard of the English Defence League, and not everybody has, utterly denounces them. So we have 84% of people who say they would never consider joining the English Defence League, and this has increased slightly after the Woolwich attack.
Even if the extreme right isn't representative of the UK as a whole, it does have the power to create very real tensions, like those causing concern for Julia and her neighbours.
Time now for sports with good